Hey, we're going to talk about the Lucifer effect. Famed social psychologist Phil Zimbardo wrote a book a few years ago called The Lucifer Effect. This is included in chapter 11 because, much like early labeling theorists, Phil Zimbardo was interested in how we label situations. If you remember back to our discussion a couple weeks ago, one of the things that we were talking about was how labeling theorists rejected the notion of social disorganization. They didn't believe that it was anything within the situation itself that was causing people to commit crime, but about the way that they defined those parts of their situation and their environment. And Phil Zimbardo was interested in situations as well because he was a social psychologist. He was most well known for creating the Stanford prison experiment, and he documented that at length in his book, The Lucifer Effect. But he also spent some time in that book talking about a lot of other things that had to do with behavior and social psychology. So, one of the questions that he was interested in was, why do good people do bad things? He came from this line of social psychologists that were brought up intellectually post World War II. They were from New York City, and this group of social psychologists happened to be of Jewish descent. So they were all very interested in what had happened during World War II and how a country like Germany, a country full of pathologically normal individuals, could participate in mass murder and genocide. And so he wanted to try and figure out how you could take, again, good people and make them do bad things. And so he started manipulating situations and trying to understand how situations could change people's behaviors. And that led him to set up the Stanford prison experiment. One of the things that he said was that this idea that we have that there's a comfortable separation between what's good and what's bad is actually not correct. That those things change depending, again, about how we label things and the societies that we come from and the cultures that we are raised in. So he rejected this idea that it was something pathological within the person that would determine whether they would behave badly or not. He thought it had to do with the situation that they found themselves in. So he was really interested in not just situations, but he took it to the next level and was interested in the way that systems functioned. So, how is it that a system can influence a situation that then influences behavior? And so he started to do research into things like propaganda that was released by government, and how that propaganda would influence kind of social situations and how those social situations would then influence individual behaviors. And those were some of the things that he was really interested in. The best example that I can give that can kind of supplement the stuff that's in the slides is World War II. It's a very well known example. I can imagine all of you have learned about World War II at some point of your lives. But you had a government that was able to create environments within which people behaved very, very badly. So the situations didn't come about organically, they were created or engineered by those that were in power. And so those that were in power were able to label things like, Jewish individuals owning businesses, Jewish individuals having the right to vote, Jewish individuals living in certain neighborhoods. They were able to create situations by the way that they labeled Jewish communities as being unsanitary or unsafe, Jewish businesses as being criminal in the way that they are operating. They're able to create laws that labeled those groups in a negative light, and then that created a social situation that allowed individuals to be able to behave very badly. And so he was kind of looking into that layered effect that labeling could have when it happens from the very, very top. And I think World War II kind of provides an example of that, because the Jewish citizen, or the German citizenry, excuse me, they didn't wake up one morning and just decide concentration camps, right? They were slowly brought into the situation that led to that outcome by those that were in power and the way that they were labeling certain kind of mundane everyday behaviors. And so this part of the chapter kind of deals with that.